Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? I have to apologize. I originally thought I wrote 3 p.m., and then I realized I didn't, and then I wrote 1 p.m., and today, this week has been kind of crazy for me. It's gotten kind of busy, so thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry this one got... Gosh, my hair feels weird with this hat. You know what? It's been weird. I am so sorry. So today's going to be a shorter live. Let's dive right in. Because we're really just, the second part of the book is a lot shorter, and it's really, from what I have, it's an explanation of logotherapy, the different themes that it comes in contact with, wait, are you busy? Why? I can't talk about it. We'll talk about other, don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Just, so it comes in. So all the things that it kind of deals with, the questions people will bring up based on it and whatnot. Okay. Still have a mustache? Yes, I'm waiting till December 1st to get rid of it. I was going to post some things. How am I? Excited. Cool things. Got to hang out with Diego today. Yeah, I was also a little under the weather this morning. I had like a headache, and it was just... But it's gone, so we're good. The second part of the book is very analytical, I feel. Yes, so I agree, Lightwood, that it's hard to read. It's not a secret project. Just don't worry about it. So if you guys want to dive right in, or should we talk about the next book first? Oh, wait, first of all, I have to talk about Hamilton. I went and saw Hamilton. I saw it twice. I saw it twice over the course of Thanksgiving because my friend Phil was in it. It was amazing. It was really, really good. Anna Cat Fernandez, I'm glad that you wrote a lot of quotes because I think that's what I want today to mostly be. Quotes we have, things we can talk about based on those quotes. Because as much as I may have understood what was written here, I can't teach or I can't... We can only really talk back and forth about logotherapy, things we learned through what we read. And then I think that's the best way to attack the second part of the book. This part was deepest, more technical, but I love it. Yes, I agree, more technical, but I thought it was just as interesting. Jealous. Oh my God, it was so good. I found the second part of the book very boring because it's more analytical. It's really him just kind of defending his discoveries in this book, and it feels also elaborating on what some of the things could be. It's really him talking about logotherapy and the form of therapy that he discovered through this search for meaning, which is pretty much his form of therapy, from what I understand. We can do quotes from the first part too, What the Huck and Puller. I like that. I'll start sending some for the topic starter. Thank you, that's great. My Shot is a hype song, absolutely. Analytical for a reason though. Yes, Nawa, what reason do you think that is? I'd like to hear you keep going there. Second part was interesting, good. I'm only 14. I found the language really difficult to comprehend. It was quite disappointing in the end. He kept repeating himself. I didn't agree with his view about logotherapy. I think, like everything, it's not absolutely 100% complete. Maybe. I think that there are some aspects that I had to think about more in order to fully understand. But I think it's a fascinating way to approach life. I think it's a really cool set of questions to have to approach things. I think it's done that. Carrie, the one thing that helped me was the things at the bottom, explaining more into it. Yes, those little footnotes, I like them. This part, which has been revised and updated, first appeared in the Basic Concepts of Logotherapy in the 1962 edition of Man's Search for Meaning. Cool stuff. I think the second part helped me understand better how the doc actually thought of his time in the camp. Yes, I agree. I study psychology, so thought I might understand at least a little bit. Man, was I wrong. My brain was fried. Kayla's Bree, I get that too. Well, for me, it was a lot of rereading. It was like, let me say it out loud now. Let me say it one more time slower. And there, okay, so it means this, okay. For me, it was a lot of, thought building. I had to, Saw a great YouTube video called Remembering the Holocaust. Las Vegas survivors tell their stories about... It's about camp survivors talking about their experience and what remained their meaning to keep going. Annie Hansen, thank you. I'm going to look that up. I thought he could have explained it in an easier way. I felt that it was a little repetitive, but in the same way, every time he was repeating himself, it was for a specific question or for a specific thought. So I felt as though it was like a repetition of a basic thing, but in different ways. So that if you approached it a different way, it would. They lack the awareness of meaning worth living for. They're haunted by the experience of their inner emptiness, a voice within themselves. It had nothing to do with this, but just with books. But I read 1984, and oh my God, that is a great book. Yes, it was awesome. I really enjoyed when we read it here. Okay, same thing twice to grasp it. I agree. Also, take a shot. He says, fine. I don't think that's a safe drinking game. I do not condone that. That's very dangerous because he says it a lot. I finished the Polish book that I got by Jacob Mother. It was so good. Great book about Poland, war, communist, province. Wow, cool. I'll make sure I look that up. I like the second part, and there are so many incredible quotes. Yes, we already are what we are looking for. We don't need to find meaning of life to have a fulfilling life. Does that make sense? We already are what we're looking for. We don't need to find the meaning of life to have a fulfilling life. Does that make sense? Maybe, but I feel like in that there's already a meaning in life that we understand whether or not we've said it. So it is fulfilling because there is something we're working towards. There's something that we're striving towards, even if it's to understand, if it's to take in. There's something that is a goal or gives yourself. So I think that's like an overlaying thing. But I don't know enough about it. Over time, rereading, I started understanding it more. I agree. Process. So I'm glad everyone had a similar experience, that we all were interested in what was reading for the most part, and that it did take us each couple of times to get what was going on. So for some people it was only 20 pages more. Okay, so I had 20 pages more, and then I had a postscript that was another 20 or so pages, and then an afterword. I didn't read the afterword. Sorry. But I agree. I think it was just a reiterating of the same points over and over again. Dini Giordano. I loved also when he talks about suffering as a meaning of life. It's an interesting point of view. Appreciate every detail of life. Like pain is an interesting perspective. Well, I thought that was fascinating, how when he was able to give people a reason behind their suffering, not feeling as though they were in this wave and meaninglessly they received this burden. If this burden was then meant to inspire, I think it's cool. I do believe that, I think it kind of is on the line that I believe that every person you meet is meant to teach you something. Even if it's just patience, even if it's something grand or simple, every person you bump into has the opportunity to teach you or inspire you or help you grow. So I feel like it's the same thing, that there's a meaning to everything. Because everything's connected. And this comes back to that movie I mentioned a while ago, I Heart Huckabees. Just check it out. I wonder how much of the scraps of his manuscript came. I wish there was I wish they had been saved, you know? Live as if you were living already for the second time, as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. Anna Cat Fernandez. Have any of you guys seen the movie with Domhnall Gleeson and Rachel McAdams called About Time? Because in that film, Domhnall Gleeson's father gives Domhnall Gleeson a little formula for happiness. And in it, he has him relive every day. If you don't know what the movie's about, you should check it out. It's really good. But there's something about that. I thought that was interesting. That I literally watched it last night with Diego. And now, when I was reading this morning, I came across that. And I was like, no way. Oh, also the part... Let me keep up with everyone. Oh gosh, I fell really far behind. I just skipped a bunch. I'm sorry. I will watch that now. Yes, love that film. Hey Rita, I understand. You were upset when he kept saying that life has meaning only if we suffer. But then he said, let me make it clear, perfectly clear, that in no way is suffering necessary to find meaning. I think there's just a way. I think suffering is a way to find meaning, but it's not necessary. You can find meaning in other ways. I was happy that he made that distinction as well. Oh, I'm glad you guys like the film. Okay. I read aloud a lot, and I do that frequently, actually, or it's a way for me to start reading, because I find that reading out loud eventually becomes kind of hard, because you're speaking, and then eventually you'll start reading in your head, and for me it's a good way to kind of dive into reading for a while. No, he didn't say there was meaning only with suffering, Annie. He said that through suffering we can find meaning, as if it were like another, from what I understand, as if it were like another highway. Like we're on this regular highway, and if we get placed on the highway of suffering, you can still find a way to figure out a direction to go, and that might help. Find which direction you're moving, or find meaning, like to make sense of the direction you've come from. What was the film? It was called About Time. Came out a few years ago, but it's really good. I really enjoyed it. Really cool. Oh goodness, supposed to be sleeping. I'm sorry I kept you guys up today. I didn't mean to do this late. Well, I meant 3 p.m. when I originally wrote 1 p.m. But anyway. Love is the only way to grasp another human being in his innermost core of personality. No one can become fully aware of the very essence of another human being unless he loves him. Oh, I know. There are some people that he speaks of, that he's worked with, that have gone through some very difficult things. Doesn't that require you having some sort of idea of what you're looking for? Maybe. I don't know. 10 a.m. All right, well, that's not bad. It's a movie about time travel and time, really. Interesting. Domhnall Gleeson's characters makes some interesting choices in the beginning of the movie. But you're like, whoa, this is kind of creepy. But at the same time, I think the movie's pretty awesome. You have a job interview in the morning? You should be getting some sleep. All right, everybody that needs to be getting sleep, I will take no offense if you decide to go get some sleep or do what you need to be doing. I totally understand. This will be... Hello. All right. Hello again. I don't know what happened. Is everyone back? Can we continue? I don't know what happened. I shared that live so that it's on. We can rewatch. So if you guys missed it. I don't know. It said I had bad connection and then it just cut out. But I'm literally sitting next to my Wi-Fi router. So... I have no idea. That was weird. It's only, what, 3:20? My watch isn't right. I need to fix that. But it's only 3:20. All right. So let's continue from when we left off. I was just asked. No one wants this live to happen, not even Instagram. I know. Nothing can be undone and nothing can be done away with. I should be saying... You know, there was an interesting concept that he brought up in the beginning that I want to talk about. Oh, wait, no, we were about to... okay, let's stick to this and then we'll go back to that. No, wait, I owe this person. Kimberly Vanderberg. The next book we read is The Hate You Give, and we will start tomorrow. I have a plan for it, so if you can start reading tomorrow, I will elaborate more, but tomorrow. I'm thinking, this book doesn't look that difficult. Do you think we can read 60 pages by Sunday? I think we can, right? Can we read 66 pages by Sunday? Can we read the chapter 5? Don't read chapter 5, read chapters 1 through 4. I think we can do it, right? Can we do 66 pages by Sunday? Whole thing in a day. Okay, that's a good sign. Barnes & Noble tonight? Good idea. I went yesterday and I actually bought a copy of a book that I already have because I wanted to read it. I was like, I really want to read that book. I already have that book. And I ended up reading 75 pages in sitting. All right. So, The Hate You Give, we will start tomorrow and we will read to chapter 5. For me, that's page 66. So, chapter 66 to chapter 5. Page 66 to chapter 5. All right? Cool. Yeah. This is cool. Okay. Back to the book. There's a cool concept that he brought up in the beginning of this second page. About the past. I can't find it, but if anyone can find it, I thought it was great. Devil works hard, Rosende works harder. That's funny. No way! Yeah, I need to slow down on buying books because I need to catch up on reading the books that I've bought. I bought Hamilton while I was there, and that book's like this thick, so I've got to dive in. His suffering as a meaning for life reminds me loosely of romanticizing of suffering by which Mother Teresa is criticized. Interesting. Well, I think it's very difficult, and you don't want to look at it like it's a wash, like it's a fix-all for everything, right? It's not. But I think it's a way to examine and look at life that will give you something to fight for. I really like what we've read because I felt as though there are a few questions I can ask myself now when I'm feeling uninspired. Or there are moments when you're like, oh, wow, this is very interesting. I just keep stacking them, really. I don't think it particularly is like a great idea, but if you look, I just stack them in the corner there. And there's Stella. But yeah, I just stack them. The second part of the book reminded me of The Alchemist because of the personal legend, because Coelho said we are ones who have to discover what it is, or what is the meaning in our lives. I agree 100%. It's very similar. There's a part that I want to talk about paradoxical intention. Sounds so cool. Okay. Paradoxical intention can also be applied in cases of sleep disturbance. The fear of sleeplessness results in a hyperintention to fall asleep, which in turn incapacitates the patient to do so. To overcome this particular fear, I usually advise the patient not to try to sleep, but rather to try to do just the opposite, that is, to stay awake as long as possible. I immediately thought of Saving Private Ryan when Giovanni Ribisi's character, T4 Medic Wade, was like, oh, when I was a kid, the key to fall asleep is try to stay awake. Because I always found that when I was a kid and my mom was going to come home late, I tried to stay awake and I never could because I fall right asleep. I don't know. I think looking at things like that sometimes really does help. Yeah, I feel like I needed that quote. Same though. And I think all of us can relate to all of these things. And that's one thing I liked when he was discussing some of the cases or people he's dealt with, where they're like, they weren't neuroses, they were just people with people problems. You know, they didn't have horrible afflictions. It was something that they needed to work through. And that, I liked when he talked about this idea of tension or conflict to be necessary in life for growth. They were human. I appreciate when he says everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life to carry out a concrete assignment which demands fulfillment. I love that. Life ultimately means taking the responsibility to find the right answer to its problems and to fill the task which it constantly sets for each individual. And that's an important part for each individual. Every individual is constantly battling their own set of tasks and challenges and confronting these things. And we can't compare ourselves, and we can't allow ourselves to become negative based on some other person, because we all have our own, personal journeys to fulfill, or personal legends to fulfill. No, I've never read that. We must never forget that we may also find meaning in life even when confronted with a hopeless situation. Personally, I had moments that found a way to keep going. It's exactly it. I think without questioning, without thinking about these things, it's very easy to lose oneself to a downward spiral. I know I've said it before, but when you start to question things, you start to really find out what you really want and know, and it's important to be honest. And I don't know, I really found this second half of the book very interesting and very informative. Also, dude, since my brain is tired and I've been meaning to tweet you about it, maybe you give me Rosende reaching under my anxiety. Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't know where it is right now, but yeah, it's fine. You can relax. It's gonna look great. Great Gatsby? Ooh, maybe. I read it a few years ago. I haven't read it in a bit. There's so many other books. Oh, Margaret Atwood is apparently coming out with a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. Did anyone else see that? Everyone saw that. Comparing ourselves to others is like an impulse. Even if I try not to, I always end up to, because we see other people and we seem to have a better life and we feel bad for our accomplishments. We can't do that. We've got to realize we're all on our own track, and what we can do to help others, great, but we must realize like our happiness and what we're doing is us. Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe when we find out what book that is, we might put that into the next, just because it just come out, we might do that. And I'm also thinking, so you guys know, down the line, don't plan it, but if you want to buy these books, we're going to probably read them. Go Set a Watchman, and whatever the sequel for Handmaid's Tale is. So if you guys want to get those for way in advance, you can. I know that I want to read those. I think that's cool. Exactly. I thought it was a really cool thing. The second part of the book, in my opinion, is really important to understand how erroneous is the conception of to go to the psychiatrist in our society. I thought that was interesting, how he said many a time people would have gone in the past to a priest, a rabbi, someone that they really trust. And it's interesting that they said in the U.S. 60% of people found, like, meaning. Remember that quote where they said that the U.S. is 60% of people with not having meaning because of... I guess one of the values of religion and culture was it did provide some semblance of meaning or some semblance of structure to provide meaning. I think that's cool. No, it's coming out in 2019, the sequel for Handmaid's Tale. You've read Go Set a Watchman? Go Set a Watchman broke my heart. Oh, amazing. I can't wait to read it. Oh, it will take a while to be translated into more languages. Who knows? Maybe not, because it's Margaret Atwood, and they might prepare it to be translated. It might be hard to find the PDFs, though. I'm working on a way to do that, but yes, I will post the books that we're going to be reading. The way Frankel treats his patients, he probably doesn't have a big return rate. Yeah, he solves all their problems so quickly. Bella's great. I miss her. We read Lord of the Flies last year, but Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? Maybe. Mary Shelley, I really enjoyed that in high school, so. I haven't finished Handmaid's Tale. I'm in the same spot. All right, let's have one final go of our final thoughts of this book, what we can take away from it. Let's talk for the last 10, 15 minutes about that. What do you guys think? This was different than any other book that we read. Very different, as you guys could tell from our general consensus of the second half. So, what do you guys think of Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning? And what do you think we can take away from it? Do you guys think this book was great? Was it cool? What do you think? Thank you for adding this book to the list. It's a very different book, and in some ways it helped me personally reading other stories. And yeah, it was good, but also difficult. But good. I agree. So different. I can take a lot of quotes from this book and might apply some of them in my life. Awesome. Have you a favorite part? Well, I just like that when he talked about finding meaning through suffering, and specifically just finding meaning, and how that is a very important facet of life. I think we're often taught or told, or we have this idea that we're supposed to be accomplishing things or achieving certain, like Xing off certain boxes. Like, oh, wow, I graduated this, and I went to school here, and I met this person here, and maybe, people, I think, are constantly trying to weigh themselves to societal expectations. But I think it's interesting to this book, you're like, if there's no meaning in them, those expectations that you meet won't do anything. So check off boxes for something that provides meaning to you, something that you're excited about, rather than just checking off boxes for the approval of others. I thought that was very cool. I like that we read something different. Me too. Amazing book, inspiring. I love psychology. So I hope to read more like this. Me too. I liked it more than I expected. I think it's the second part, how he rationalizes everything in the beginning. I believed I would love the way this book would read. I agree. That's cool. Although it's confusing, I think I'm going to read it again. I hope we'll be able to understand things better and it's okay, cool. Really enjoyed it. Even though I didn't agree with this point of view on logotherapy, I enjoyed the first part. Good. I think the book is really good because the quotes stayed with you and impacted on what was read next by how deeply meant they were. But overall, the book is different and cool. I recommend it. Great. With the accomplishment, it's hard to break societal construct, but it's a starting point. Awesome. Same, I didn't expect to like this book. Well, I'm glad that was same. And for those that didn't like it, that's okay too. Remember, we're all allowed to have our own opinions and reasons why we like and don't like something. We're all allowed to read and enjoy, or read and be like, oh, this wasn't one. I have books that we've read that I was like, But we continue. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad the book club helped. That's the point. Thank you for session a book. No, thank you guys for reading it. All right, what book? And I've appreciated the technical part so much. The technical part. Is it weird? No, I think that's the whole point. The technical part was meant to illuminate thoughts and ideas that may have come from the first part, and also to elaborate on thoughts and ideas that have come from the first part or come from other questions surrounding this whole concept. So yeah, we have like the foundation for that. That was cool. Challenging books expand your mind and expose you to thoughts you may not have encountered otherwise. Awesome. So, I think we'll call that a day today. I told you today was going to be a little shorter. Thank you guys for partaking in Man's Search for Meaning. A really cool little book. Definitely can recommend to other people. I'm glad I read it. But now, we will make all of our attention onto The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Remember, we want to do page 66 up to chapter 5, and we will have a live on Sunday. All right? Is everyone cool with that? The hate you give. I'm very excited about it. It looks very good. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for today. I will talk to you guys on Sunday. And remember, keep exploring, keep being curious, keep questioning, and continue to be positive forces of changes in your communities. It was fun talking to you guys. I will see you next time.